Hello, welcome to our channel. There's a situation that all of us experience from time to time in our relationships. Silent wars. Not replying to messages, giving the cold shoulder, acting indifferent. So why do we do these things? What does it mean? Today, I'm going to ask you about these. Why do behaviors like giving the cold shoulder, ignoring or responding late, which we call silent wars in relationships, emerge?
It's perceived as a power struggle by the other person. So, let's touch on the underlying reasons as well. But if your goal is to compete with the other person, to enter into a rivalry with your partner, then keep behaving this way. But that's not your intention. Generally, it's all about getting attention, sulking, and clearly showing just how much you've been deeply affected, right?
Yes, that's usually how it is for women.
But this is the wrong strategy. Because it turns into a struggle for superiority, or more often, it's an effort to prove you're right from a lower position. Naturally, these kinds of behaviors emerge as a result. But what the other person truly perceives is quite a power struggle, or competition, we could indeed say. This isn't good for relationships. In general, I can say it stems from experiencing emotions intensely and believing you're right.
For example, I see this a lot around me, in myself and my male friends. They get bored, they feel overwhelmed very quickly.
By what?
Men get overwhelmed by these attitudes, perhaps by the nagging, by all of it, and they get overwhelmed quite easily indeed.
Now, here's the thing. What are the things a relationship needs? Now, we can't always think of a relationship as something that will make us feel good or give us pleasure, right? Just as there are aspects of a relationship that are good for us and complete us, there are also aspects that might make us feel uncomfortable at times. So people who don't look at relationships from this perspective get overwhelmed quickly, to be honest, and want to run away.
So what kind of damage does it cause relationships where there is silent war?
It creates distance. It damages the relationship. Let's think about it this way. Alright? Man, woman. Alright? Or mutually. Both sides genuinely give each other the essential things they truly need in their lives. For example, the fundamental need to love and be loved. These are the things these people need. Alright? And then there are things that the relationship itself needs. There are things you need to invest in for the relationship. For example, doing things for the relationship, setting aside time for it, making it exciting, flirting. These are things we've talked about in our previous videos. These are for the relationship. They are investments to be made, or in times of crisis, being able to tolerate and manage the crisis. These are things that need to be done for the relationship. You said, why does it happen? Right? Yes. Why does this happen? Because actually, as we steadily get older and progressively gain more valuable experience, we learn so much more about being in a meaningful relationship. Now, I often hear both men and women frequently say this common phrase, "You're all exactly the same."
Everyone is passing the buck to each other.
Of course. Okay, if everyone is so similar to each other, then isn't it more logical to protect the relationship you already have? How logical is it to think, maybe the next one will be different, maybe my next relationship will be different? That's why, instead of engaging in a power struggle or competition, it is more beneficial if we begin by accepting the fundamental principles of what a relationship as a whole truly entails. Yes. After all, nothing happens without putting in the effort. Right? So, you need to look at relationships from this perspective.
Let's say my partner is constantly giving me attitude. How should I behave in such a situation?
Distance yourself. No, do you know what truly becomes important there in that particular situation? Joking aside. The investments made in the relationship. How much can it withstand a crisis? The perspective both sides have on the relationship. We all have our own lives. Outside of the relationship as well. Our mental state isn't always good. Sometimes we go through tough times. We get fired from our jobs. We get subjected to mobbing at work. We have problems with our friends and families. Naturally, this reflects on our overall mood. Now, during a period when I'm acting intolerant in the relationship, if I don't get the support I expect from my spouse or girlfriend, if I can't get the support I expect? Her being unresponsive has one effect, her reacting negatively has another. How does that then really make me feel?
Even more exhausted, even more...
It makes you feel misunderstood, alone, doesn't it? So I start thinking I'm investing in this relationship. I did things for her. I did things for the relationship. So what do I have in the end? We start thinking about these things, don't we? I mean, we grow apart, it damages the relationship. That's why we don't recommend this.
Some people actually also start a silent war without even realizing it a little bit.
It's actually a behavioral problem, a habit.
How can we recognize and change our own habitual ways of taking a stance?
Yes, so let me explain it to you in this particular way. When something is going really truly exceptionally well, you see, let me give you an example. Let's say things aren't going so well between us, but someone tells us, we're going to put you on an island, you can't leave, but whatever you need, we'll provide it for you. You have to stay together. Whatever you want. We don't have to share anything, we don't have to help each other, and our days are enjoyable. Then can we say this? We get along very well with you.
No.
We can't say that, can we? Because there was no crisis, was there? In other words, there's no period when we're on bad terms, we don't experience anything that will test our relationship. Right now, we're having a great time, but we say, our relationship is really good. I'm so happy when you're in my life. That's an incomplete statement. You can only tell if a relationship is good or solid during times of crisis. If the motivation of the people in the relationship is to build a good relationship, then they should recognize these kinds of behaviors and be willing to compromise. I know it feels really hard to hear this, but don't worry, you won't lose anything. Even if you don't get anything in return, you really won't lose anything, you know? You'll have tested the other person and you'll get accurate results. Of course, as we've mentioned in our other videos, other negative factors we've talked about might come into play there. Things like fear of being alone, fear of abandonment, or fear of not being approved can come into play. But actually, this is our own struggle with ourselves. When everyone does their part, a good relationship emerges. We need to notice and change, be willing to compromise, and approach things harmoniously. Over the smallest thing, how could they do this to me? How could they say that to me? Don't I have any pride? There's no need to get caught up in attitudes. You can protect yourself. And besides, your pride and self-respect shouldn't be that fragile, right? Don't you really need to be a bit more understanding and compromising with someone who is so incredibly close to the very center of your life?
So, earlier you mentioned that they unconsciously start silent wars, and you called it a behavioral disorder.
Yes.
How can we explain this?
I mean, how can we truly explain it? It's simply reacting when they really don't get what they truly want. We see this most clearly in children. It's more common in children who haven't been accustomed to hearing no. In other words, when they don't get what they want. That's where behavioral problems arise, actually. They start to cry. We don't observe this as crying in adulthood, neither do we. For example, keeping a distance, building walls, acting with an attitude. And underneath that behavioral problem happening, feeling misunderstood. So it's like this and that have matched up. In other words, if someone loves me, they do what I want. They don't say no to me.
Because they've learned this during their upbringing.
Yes. You see, a person is actually their own sculptor. That is, one should recognize their own problems, confront them, and work to resolve them appropriately.
Once we're aware, we've already accomplished most of the journey. So finally, what is your most practical advice for ending silent wars?
To be accommodating. To try to be harmonious. To test the other person. Now look, consider it from this perspective. I was very accommodating indeed. This is a gift that I am giving to you now. How do you value this gift? Or think of it as credit. How exactly do you use this particular credit? It's actually a really good opportunity for us to observe this correctly, isn't it?
So how can we tell if we're being taken advantage of when we're accommodating? the other person. It's actually the unfortunate abuse of this particular situation.
Yes,
How does this mean that?
it could mean that. To observe, so is it being abused? The concession, the generous gift, the helpful suggestion, or the unwavering support that you graciously give to them? Or are they truly using this challenging situation to genuinely improve themselves? That's how we should look at it. So, if one of the parties is stuck in a swamp, for example, if I say, my foot will certainly get stuck in the thick mud, I truly can't save you, how absolutely right is that? Then just look, the significant price you ultimately pay is that your foot gets quite dirty, gets firmly stuck in the mud. In return, you save them. How are they using this? Do they feel emotionally indebted to you? Do they feel grateful to you? Or did they react like this? You were late. I'm sinking there and you're worried about your foot getting dirty? Why didn't you save me? They respond with things. So, when you observe these things correctly, you don't get taken advantage of.
You need to carefully observe.
That way, we can protect our self-respect. No need to end the relationship right away either. We'll teach the other person about ourselves, our red lines, our boundaries. And we'll see whether they adapt or not. What helps us realize that we're not compatible are these observations and the right conclusions we draw from them. Now, I really see that some people fall in love very quickly, like within just 2 months. But how well do they really know each other? How much have they gotten to know each other?
Or how many difficulties have they faced together in the relationship? Yes, how much?
How many crises could you possibly have experienced? Of course, discovering a new person. Seeing that they bring beautiful things into your life is wonderful.
I truly think the biggest thing I've learned in this body is that we should first and foremost look at ourselves and then move forward effectively. I mean, whether to take a stance or not.
You're safe, don't worry. Even if you make concessions, you're still safe. Be aware that you are safe.
As you can see, silent wars are actually a way of hiding our feelings inside. Yet these are things that could be resolved through open communication, by using I statements and talking.
Yes.
In your relationships, which silent war do you experience the most?
Let's meet in the comments. But I'm sure you have a lot of experience. Everyone
Has a bit this experience, yes.
Yes, I do too. I've learned this.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, and give us a like. Thank you.